country and arguably the greatest team in the history of the world. So we could get a Zoom round of applause for them. Everybody is muted. Thank you very much. You'll see the claps on the screen. I want to thank, we actually have a sponsor that is joined us in this event, and that is Tri-Flare. And I reached out to them because they created a replica suit. If we could get a shot of Emma from our senior national team, she's actually wearing the replica suit right now. So if Andrea, you could flip it over and find Emma, that would be awesome.
Yes, of course.
I see Emma.
There she is. Show off the suit for us a little bit. Yeah, thanks. So the plan was for our team to wear that at every competition this year, obviously in the lead up to the Olympic Games. Abby has hers on too. That didn't quite come to fruition, but we will wear it proudly in the future, no doubt. So I also want to introduce all of you to the senior national team. They will be moderating the panel along with the senior national team coaching staff, specifically Andrea Fuentes. So all I'm going to ask of you is that you hit mute for me if you are not already on mute. And that does not include the 1996 team. We want all of you bantering back and forth as much as possible. And then I will share that the run of show is going to be for the first block of time. We're going to have the 1996 team speak about their 96 experience. We're going to have them introduce themselves before that. And then before that even, Andrea Fuentes is going to share how they inspired her. Then following that, we will have a few questions from the senior national team, and then we will open it up using the chat function. So I invite you to use the chat function right now. And some other senior national team athletes will ask questions from that chat. So with that, I'm going to cut out for now, and I will leave it to now the best coach in the world, Andrea Fuentes.
Hello, how are you? Can you listen to me? Can you hear me well?
Yeah, hey Andrea.
Okay, hello, how are you? My name is Andrea Fuentes, and I'm here as the head coach of the US national team 1 year and a half ago. And I cannot explain how incredibly proud I am to be today here, because I think if somebody would tell me 24 years ago that I will be talking in front of you with my favorite team of all history, I would die directly. I will never believe it, because when Adam told me 1 or 2 weeks ago that we were going to do this event, I did a big throwback 24 years ago, and I started to remember everything. And like, of course, I had 1 million goosebumps per second. And I was starting to explain him what I lived from my side, and he told me, why you don't explain it? And I actually told him, actually, the reason that why I'm here, it's in a big part is because of you. So I thought it was interesting to explain it today, how I lived it from outside, from a little girl at home watching the Olympics from the TV, and then we will have the opportunity to see how you lived it from inside, right? So I just want to remember, because at that point when Adam told me we're gonna do the meeting, I just remember, I don't know why, my memory is super selective, and I only remember very important moments in my life that are moments that changed my life. So even if I didn't know that this will change my life at that point, but I remember everything, right? I remember I was in Barcelona because it's my home town. It was very hot because it was in summer, and I was alone at home, or my parents were doing a nap or something, but I remember a lot of silence, and I was just in front of the TV, because I remember exactly how the furniture was, the light of the window. I remember the sofa, because my mom was changing almost every month all the furniture, not like just the places. And I remember exactly how it was, and I never remember these kind of things, but I remember from that day, right? I remember also exactly when you were entering and from the last call room to the deck, how you were counting. I heard your counts from the TV. I heard the audience, but there was a mic in your voice or something that was, I was listening that 5, 6, 7, 8. And I was still not very serious in synchro. I was 13, but still not completely decided if I was going to do synchro or not. But I remember also the music starting, this purple suit, this queen's headpiece. I remember also all the choreography, how this sensation that you have as a coach sometimes when you know that the team will nail it, this sense of you're safe, you're not worrying about anything because you know it will happen for sure. You gave me a sensation of they will nail it from the beginning to the end. I have no doubt, from the beginning. The confidence that you were projecting was what was capturing my attention, right? And I remember also at the end with the changes of music, all kind of different styles that was like activating my interest because it was a choreography that I never saw before. And also how the last lift was like perfect, done and synchronized. And then I remember a lot the audience like falling from the stands almost, like, wow! And then how you were finishing, like quite of what will happen. It was in the US, of course, so the audience was even louder. How you were waiting on the deck. Actually, I want to show this video because for me it's the moment that everything was obvious. This moment of in the TV, you started first doing this, like going forward and back, like completely grabbing your hands like this. I remember the strength on your hands. Here you can see it, how people was going, bowing almost. And we didn't know what was happening because in the TV, they didn't say that it was what was the scores. And suddenly everybody was completely crazy. And the commentator was saying, all 10s, this is a full 10, everything perfect. How is it possible? And then I remember Chris and Gail just hugging each other. You were jumping of joy, crying, of course. I can see Tammy here. This is, I remember exactly all your faces, one by one. I was 24 years ago. And then, of course, started the moment of go and review and review and review and rewind. And I have this, you remember the VHS videos? So I was every time rewind, 1 hour waiting and then play, and rewinding and play. And I was always super upset because they always film underwater, this hybrid, you remember? This one, dun, 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 dun. And I always remember the beginning and I never knew how it was ending because it's filmed underwater and I only see your leg from underwater going, and I was always saying, but how this hybrid finishes, no? So this is one of my questions of the chat. Okay, can I have the last one? Okay, and then I also remember at some point the machine of the video was not working enough because I had to rewind it by hand with manually, and I ended up breaking the video because it was too many times, so my frustration came very high. But I have to tell you that this moment changed my life and made me decide that synchro was going to be my life because of you. And I also remember my dad seeing me obsessed about it, like, Andrea, go to dinner, and I was like, just one more time, please. And how he told me one day, maybe you will be in the Olympics one day, right? And I said, me, I will never be like this. And then I was in the Olympics a lot of years later. Thank you, because you made me be there. And 22 years later, after my whole life in synchro, I received an email from USA Synchro who was telling me if I wanted to come here to coach the US. And then imagine my reaction. And that's why I'm also here, because I really want to give what you gave me back. And I'm super happy that I have you all together here. Thank you for what you made me and how you changed my life.
Wow.
That was so nice. Thank you.
It was great.
Amazing.
Recount everything, kind of put us back in the moment. Thank you.
Yeah,
that hybrid is like embedded in my brain. It will never leave.
Me too.
Oh, it's to this day.
So hard.
That was so hard. Oh my God, I'm crying.
and how it ends because you don't remember. And then what?
And Becky was beeping underwater for it too, right?
Yep.
I know.
Oh,
Yeah. About the violin hybrid?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm glad you were calm.
It just went up and then down. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, the ending lifted and sank.
Okay. And then
we could get you a new video.
Online
Get you
now.
a digital
That's
video.
right. Don't watch it too close.
Put it online.
How long did it take to make champion?
because at the end of the free team, you're doing the spins that are better than ours now, 24 years before. How you did it?
Hours and hours.
Or sometimes a week, right? On just a couple counts of 8.
No,
Over and over again.
those spins were awesome, and also like waiting all the verticals and all the double arms there the whole time.
Yeah.
I was impressed when I saw it yesterday again. So now I think we all want to know how you lived it from inside, because you made us this sensation. Some of the people who's watching today were not even born, but some of yeah. But I think it will be great if we can relive the sensations you had, but from inside, because I want for sure, and I'm sure that everybody wants. So we were thinking that why we don't go one by one and you present yourself for the ones who were not even born at that moment. And you explain a little bit how you were living it from your own skin, right? What was the sensations this moment of before starting the Olympics at home, how you were swimming? Do you remember when you were swimming, the sensations, your thoughts when you were going out, the scores, how the team was uniting at this moment? Can you explain us a little bit and make us dream a little bit that moment again? You can start with Becky.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I'm Becky Dyermancer. Hey.
Did it take to
Hey,
make
sorry, I'm in the car right now, but I'm not driving. So, yeah. You know, the other day when I was thinking about this Zoom call, I just was going back to our cheer that I think pretty much set the focus point for the entire team, for the entire time that we were training for the Olympics, which is Total Team 10. It was a very, it kind of encapsulated everything that we were going for. And ultimately, it was our fulfillment of our goal, getting straight 10s for the final score. But I think the total team is that we were willing to give anything and everything for this team.
For the team.
We're willing to put off our school, our careers, some of us putting off family life. We just were really willing to give heart and soul to the other 9 women, plus our coaches, who are definitely part of our team as well, and a driving force behind our success. So I just want to thank my Total Team 10 for, the most amazing, magical moment. Really, when they announced all 10s, whoever took that picture captured magic that day.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll let someone else take the reins.
Did you expect to have all 10s?
Did we expect all 10s?
Really?
Well, I mean, I think when we were swimming towards the wall, I think everybody could tell that we had a really great swim. But sometimes you don't really know. You don't really perfectly know. I was hoping that it presented as well as I thought it did, because it felt amazing. But we had kind of gone through like a little bit of a rough time a few weeks beforehand, where we'd done all the training, we'd done all the mental preparation, we'd done it all, but we hadn't quite clicked. And then we arrived in Atlanta, and we left and went someplace. I still don't know where we really went.
Alabama.
And we left for a few days. Where were we? I don't know. Okay, so yeah, we just got in the car. We just did what they told us to do. I don't know where we went. That was something clicked that during that
Becky,
time.
you're
and
blocking
we came
out the
back
bad
as
memory.
Total Team 10. I know I am. After all these years, it's like they've
That was
moved
the
away.
dungeon pool. Oh.
Okay.
I just imagine.
So is the what? Yeah, the pool is awful, but
I know. I'm gonna pick up from there because Andrea, you said it looked like you guys were gonna do no problem, do great. I had total confidence, and we're like it's like every moment is a choice to stay focused, be connected with your teammates. And I'll tell you, before we went to Birmingham, Alabama, we didn't look so good. In fact, so the Canadian coaches were up in the stands watching us during one of our training runs 4 or 5 days before our first swim, the short program. And they were sitting there, all confident because we look, oh my God, anything that could go wrong. And Gail and Chris too, they were like, what is wrong with these guys? So, we were not supposed to go anywhere. We were supposed to stay in Atlanta and train the little bitty bit. And I remember they gathered us together. They said, we found a pool. It's in Birmingham, Alabama. We're going there tomorrow. Get all your stuff. And so we knew we were in trouble. We were trying so hard, but it's like, the thing is about the Olympic Games is it's a different animal. You can have won world championships, you can, be so confident, and then all of a sudden there's just like something deep down inside that just can unravel you if you don't acknowledge it. So they just took us to this pool, which was, it was enclosed, nobody else was around. So we didn't have to be around the media or any prying eyes. And we worked out some kinks, and bottom line is that what came out is that we were like, we were scared, we were like, it was so much pressure. We knew we would put all the work in, but it was so momentous, and we didn't want to disappoint anybody. We loved our coaches, and we hated that they were like stressed out. So we just hammered it out. And when we came back, actually, I'll tell the story. Becky, it was not going so well. So Becky and I were talking, I'm like, I think we need to just have a talk, just the team, not the coaches. And so we asked the coaches permission. Can we go talk? We got to go now. So we actually hashed it out and just talked about what's on your mind? Why are you not getting to the lift? Why is this not working? What can we do better? And we just figured it out. Everybody talked and we got it off of our chest. And Gail Emery says to this day, she's like, I don't know what you guys said in there, but you guys came out of that room a different team. You guys came out the gold medal team. That was the turning point. But it was hard.
That was
How
also
long
a
did
turning
it
point
take
for
to be
not
a
to make any
champion?
changes.
Oh, well, that too. Always.
So special. And wow, it just had too many goosebumps, sorry. And how did do you remember a special moment that you were this click that made you change? Or was just this meeting or a special word, or what was it?
It was that we got to, the thing is when you're when there's media around and your competition and people are watching you, you become aware that people are watching you and you forget to stay focused on what it is you're doing. You're not in the present moment, you're somewhere else. And so when we had that talk, we had some strategies for what we would do before we walked out. So it was, remember we would breathe together, you guys? Mm-hmm. And we're all holding hands, twisting my hand back there, twisting my hand up here. And so we just had to calm the heck down, get grounded and just be in the present, which is really hard when you've got a lot on the line. But
you guys remember the point before that? What happened with the lift?
Oh yeah.
What?
So right before we swam, was it China who went?
Yeah.
And their lift fell.
Mm-hmm.
And they all came into the ready room and they were crying and bawling and panicking. And we're all like, oh my God, we're next. Oh my God, what are we going to do? And that's when Matt was saying, we grabbed onto each other's hands and we said, get focused, stay there, stay in the moment. And we walked out on deck and we took a moment to gather ourselves back together. It's okay that they had their thing. We're doing our thing now. We had to like kind of like come back together as a team right before we walked out on deck. But it was like an awe moment right then and there.
One of the things that I learned that I felt was a huge learning experience for me during all of my synchro career is the mental preparation and the mental training. I've used it so many times, literally all the time, to focus your mind. And there were a lot of people that helped us with that over the years. Coaches and experts coming in, and Duke was there, and just learning how to shut out everything else and do what you're hoping to do and what you're trained to do. And the other thing was practice like it's the competition, and then do the competition like it's practice.
That really helped.
One too for me.
Yeah.
Always.
How long did it take to be a champion?
You have a question coming in from cute little rainbow girl.
Okay. Now we have time after for questions. Jill, can you explain a little bit how the moments before starting the performance in the Olympics? Did you were aware of so much people watching? What were your sensations at that point? Just before the moment of free team final.
Jill Smith, I'll let you do that.
Really, you want me to answer that question? Well, what I remember, and it's so interesting. First thing I want to say before, because I don't want to forget, is this is like, I can't tell you how much this means to me personally, because we all were doing this not really thinking about how we impacted anyone else. So the fact we actually were inspiring people, it's, you know, it really means a lot. We were out there just working our butts off because it was something that we were passionate about. But to hear that we, you know, impacted anyone is kind of amazing. But I'll go back to that moment before we walked out for team finals. What I remember is what Heather described, and freaking out because of course I was on the lifts. I didn't want to be on the lifts. In fact, like the whole month leading up to this, I was asking, can you please take me off the lifts? I don't think this is good. And
remember they tried to put me on the lift one time and they're like,
yeah, I was like, put someone else on the lift. Don't put me on the lift. But I was, and then I remember us grabbing hands, and I think for me, like the fact that something hilarious happened right before we walked out just made it like, I can do this. I think the only three people that knew what happened were Tammy, Heather, and me. I've got dog issues, but Tammy and Heather, do you remember there was a nose clip issue?
Yeah.
Do you guys remember that? And I think Tammy and I looked at each other and we just literally started cracking up like, this cannot be happening right now. And Heather Carrasco, I just remember her kind of freaking out and
the nose clip in amongst the cameraman. Right?
Yes, that's right.
The cameraman.
Wait, I have never heard this.
There was nowhere. We had practiced our lineup, and there was nowhere for you to stand. And then your nose clip got mixed up in all the camera equipment.
Yes.
So we're trying to find that.
Yes,
oh my God, I forgot about that.
And for me, as you know, like I learned this about myself later in life, but the fact that something absolutely hilarious happened that I had no control over, it's just like, there's nothing I can do about it. And I just went on total autopilot. I think the entire swim, I was thinking about Heather. Damn nose clip.
That was good. Everything was good.
I've never heard that story. I do not remember knowing that at all.
No, I didn't.
Oh God, that's funny.
I forgot about that.
Tammy, where are you? You remember, we talked about this forever, remember?
Yep. I remember also that the last stroke was completely unsynchronized.
Yeah.
You remember
I
that?
know.
And I was like, oh my gosh, if that's how the whole routine looked, we are in serious trouble.
Yeah, yeah.
But I guess the last stroke didn't kill us.
And to this day, you guys, I was late by a half a second on the arm swing into the spin, and I just kicked myself for that.
I always see the mistakes I made. Oh my gosh, that was so fun.
Also, I mean, it was, I have to say, at the end, it would be interesting to know what everyone was thinking at the last stroke, you know, and Heather had to do 2 arms up, didn't you?
Yeah.
But I was not thinking about the scores at all. I wasn't thinking about the medals. I was thinking, oh my gosh, I'm done. That was so hard. I was so happy to be finished. And that to me was why my total shock, because I was the one on that picture on the end going, like my mouth is hanging open because I forgot. Like, oh my gosh, wait, yeah, we need the scores.
Where is it? It's here. Wait.
Oh God, that's funny.
Wait. This one.
You know, Jill said it, that lift almost fell, right? I was holding on to your ankles so hard.
Yeah. It
I was
was
worried I
it
gave
was
you-
one of those lifts that needed motion to
Yeah.
stay, like, and it was dead. It was just stuck. And so here I felt like I was just falling in the middle, but somehow I did not. I mean,
Oh, I think we all were like, nope, this is not gonna happen.
Right.
No.
Poor Jill Savory said, I totally took in a big gulp of water.
Do you remember that? So I was holding
Yes.
Natalie up for the flower spins and I went and got all water. I was coughing the rest of the time.
I'm sorry.
That wasn't your fault. It's fine.
That's awesome. And Susanna, what is Susanna?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Z. Oh, she's so cute.
Hi.
How did you live the experience? Do you have a special memory that pops up to your mind?
Oh, so many memories. For me, I think one of the most special memories was when the flags were raising at the end, because that, and you hear the national anthem, and it was like the real final of what we were doing, and we had actually finished and we had accomplished and it was the exclamation point on what we were doing, and that is anchored so strongly in my body that I cannot hear the national anthem and not cry.
Right.
Doesn't matter where it is, football game, elementary
Me
school,
too.
I cry because it's such a strong anchored moment. And it was the accumulation of everything that we were doing. And that was the final point. So that's one of a really special memory for me.
Wow.
And Susanna and I got to experience something extra. We got drug tested.
Yeah.
So that's a little extra Olympic experience for us.
We got immediately pulled off of the stands, and anyone who's been drug tested, which is all of us, but we didn't get to go say hi to our families really or do anything. We just got tagged with a person that had to follow us around until we could pee. So it was unexpected, but we also knew we had nothing to worry about.
Wow. And we have here also this lady.
Oh, there's Chris.
Chris, how did you leave it from the experience from the coaching side? How was everything?
Oh, you're muted.
Oh, let me.
Chris.
Okay, I didn't mute.
It's just as scary from the coaching side, you know, and when you think about how many years together people were in the pool, and this was that one moment, and it was in our country, and we didn't want to let our people down. I mean, the flags flying, and you know, it was because of our previous 4 years, it was ours to lose, not to win, because we had won everything for the previous 4 years. But it was relief afterwards. I would say relief, because there is a lot of tension, and I think they kind of have alluded to that. And that is why we went to Alabama, to get them away from that, because it's something, well, you know, Andrea, what it's like. It's just, it's different. It's different. It's something you can't totally imagine. And I think the added pressure of having it in our country, I don't know if everybody agrees with me, but you know, that's the time you really want to deliver for your country. These are extraordinary women. I'm loving sitting here listening to them. All of them in their own right are excellent performers. They were all excellent soloists. And to be able to put that individuality aside and really give everything to the team was an amazing experience for me to live through. And all the girls, whether they were from my team or not, are like my precious daughters, and great. So I'm gonna mute myself now, or you mute me, okay?
I cannot mute you. It's against my philosophy. What about the before starting? Do you remember anything with the coaches or something? Did they tell you something special that you remember, or you prefer to be on your own in silence? How was this moment of let's go?
They turned us over to ourselves.
Yeah.
And they had done everything they could, and then they knew that we had to go do our thing, just like we had done in Alabama. Like, our coming together was working hard, and we had to get in our own cocoon. And as much as you want to see the 15,000 people and all the other stuff, we had rehearsed this moment so many times. We just needed to be together, and they had to, you know, be free of us. So that's trust. They trusted us to handle ourselves at that moment, and we trusted ourselves too. To be able to give it.
Trusted yourself, Susanna, but I didn't trust myself.
Well, to give 100%. You trusted yourself to give 100%. That's all we could do. I remember thinking halfway through, 2/3 of the way through, I was like, we warmed up too much and I can't do this again. Over.
That was a thing. And that taught a lesson too, that you have more inside of you than you think you have.
Yeah.
When you think, because we had a really long warm up, because I think we got a few things wrong. So we were doing it over and over and over again. And it wasn't really, I don't think we in our minds were prepared for a long, hard warm up. But then you realize how much more you have. And we had more, and they knew it. So,
Wow. I also remember thinking in the routine that every stroke that I was doing, like, this is it. This is the last time I get to breathe. Like, the last time I get to do this. And a couple of things, it was the last time I have to do this. But that was just a couple of things, like the spins. And there was a moment of such presentness where you're so focused just within the team that a lot of the other stuff fell away. I didn't see the cameras. I didn't see the people. For me personally, I don't remember hearing the crowd during the swim. I remember hearing my teammates. Yeah.
Wow. Beeping underwater.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I beeped that spin in the quiet part.
There's another thing that
because
relates. Go ahead, Beth.
During warm-up, during warm-ups, I think it was Gail asked me, she's kind of at the last minute said, I want you to beep this in during the actual routine. And it was, I was always the beeper. I was the one who beeped during warm-up. And so that was good. It gave me something to think about besides the fact that it was really, I kept waiting for that second wind to come. And it never came. I was focusing on beeping, so I guess I had something to think about.
You're an awesome beeper, man.
You know what? It was when I started feeling like, oh my gosh, we're doing it. It's not so much thinking, but then being able to be in it was when, after the spin on that last lap, when we get to do that big jump right there, I was like, oh my gosh. So I had to stop thinking about that to keep counting. It was then when I was starting to think.
Like Jill Savory said, the mental side of things. I really feel like that gave us an edge.
For sure.
Because
100%.
everybody we were competing against was working hard and had that level of perfection. But this was the first time the team event was in the Olympic Games, and it was the first time for any of us to be in the Olympic Games. And I remember that the mental training we did was to feel like we've been there already. This isn't new. We've done this before.
We didn't want to be rookies.
It was no surprises. We literally visualized every single scenario that could go wrong and practiced it. Where's the bathroom? You always have to go to the bathroom before, right? How will cameraman being in your face? What are you going to do so that you can block out all those distractions and still be an athlete, be a team that can perform at the highest level no matter what the circumstances? Because you can be a great athlete that performs well when everything's lined up perfectly. But are you that team that can perform no matter what the circumstances?
Yeah.
I know Natalie feels like we came together at Alabama, and that was like the linchpin that we needed. But I really felt like we had what it took. The pre-Olympic show that we did at San Jose.
Right. That's it.
Music.
That's it.
Above the water and below.
Agree.
Within the first lap. And Becky talking about beeping reminded me of it, because we didn't know, none of us even noticed that the music stopped. It was never a question that we were going to keep going till the end of the routine.
Yeah.
The entire routine, Becky beeped all the figures underwater. We watched each other above, and going back and watching that video, we did a really good job. It was really synchronized with no music for most of the routine.
That last hybrid?
We have it was the music went out above and below in the first half, and we went through the whole routine together.
Yep.
We didn't want to do it all over again.
Well, if we didn't do it, they were going to start it over. So it was probably in our best interest to just finish the
keep going
run.
But you guys remember we were trained, Chris, you remember this.
Never
Don't stop
Never
ever.
Yep.
Yeah, we were trained to do that. We were trained to not stop.
Yeah.
We were so well trained.
Yeah.
I think it was you who used to turn off the music but not tell us to stop, and then you would get upset if we stopped even though the music was off. We had this ingrained in us. And swimming, I think at that point for me, I understood something that I hadn't understood quite this way before. And it was that being synchronized wasn't about swimming to the music. It was about awareness. It was about feeling your teammates. It was about seeing each other, using all of your senses. And that's what makes you synchronized, not swimming to the music. And every team should try this exercise. Turn off the music halfway through a lap and finish the rest of the lap. And then you'll see what it means to be synchronized. And it changes your awareness at a level that you can't teach. You just have to learn it.
Yeah. I can piggyback on Heather because I think the key to our success was the preparation. There was a lot of the mental preparation. I mean, down to visualizing what the tiles on the floor of the natatorium look like, what the crowd was going to look like, what they were going to sound like. But I think it was also things like we went to Seattle once a week or for a week every single month, and we didn't focus on anything except for that team and our choreography and synchronized swimming. We land drilled till 9 o'clock at night. We went to the pool in the dark. We left in the dark. Back on some of the mental stuff, we land drilled to other music, not our own team music. And there was always a contest to see who could end when our team music ended while listening to something else. I think that was really, that was key. But I think there was also years of preparation behind it. We had a pretty tragic competition in France that I think all of us will remember forever. One of those competitions we won, and we probably shouldn't have. But we learned a lot, and we could draw on that experience. I remember the qualification for the Olympics. Do you remember the fanfare lift? And it fell in practice in the warm-up. It fell probably 12 times. And at some point they cleared the pool, and we just had to get out and trust in preparation. But I think for me as an athlete, I knew that if we could satisfy our coaches, that it would always be enough, because they set the bar so high. They really thought of everything possible. And I have two memories. One is really funny, and one is what Heather mentioned when the music went out and we finished. But I think it's a memory from '96. I could be mixing it up. But I remember that, do you remember at San Jose State, we had a little kid that pooped in the pool, and they had to drain the pool. And the pool was like, so if you were in the 16-foot diving well, the pool was maybe 5 feet of water left. And like the underwater speaker was hanging from the deck and barely underwater. Okay, and this was like the most ridiculous practice ever. The coaches are looking down at us, right? And at the end of the practice, they were like, okay, well, we're gonna swim through. And we were like, are you serious? We're gonna swim through 4 feet of water? But I also remember that day thinking, we've done it all. There's nothing left to do. We've learned how to play a violin. We've watched movies on the orchestra. We've watched movies on being a great patriot of the United States. Like, there was nothing that we hadn't done. So preparation, I think for me, was the big takeaway. But I have two distinct memories from the Olympics. The first one was the day we swam the tech program, and we had a parade. You know, you have a parade before every event. And I remember looking in the audience, and there were 16,000 people there, most of whom we didn't know. And every single one of those people would have done anything for us to win. Just random people waving flags and cheering. And that for me was like such a human moment. You know, I will forever be a patriot of this country. And the Olympics will always be emotional because of that moment. And I don't remember a lot about the award ceremony. It's very quick. You know, you've got 4 minutes to put your sweats on and 4 minutes to get out there. But I do remember the nightly wrap up on NBC. And at the end of the day, they show all the sports that won. And of course, there was a huge focus on gymnastics. And then we were in the same clip. And I think that's when it hit me. It was like, we're the same as them, you know? And it was the Women's Olympics. There were 7 women's sports that won gold. And so that was pretty cool.
Wow.
There was one thing that I've noticed is over time, and this is with anyone, and it's human nature, you forget the bad stuff for the most part and all the good stuff comes in. But looking back, it was really hard. I mean, now we can look back and we remember all the good stuff, but it was really hard. We each had our things that motivated us. Andrea, like you, I remember watching Mary Lou Retton, and that just sparked it for me. And then our sport got into the Olympics, and then Candy and Tracy, and then the Josephsons, and it was all these inspirational people. So that was a big part of it for me. But over the years, there's the Olympic creed has a phrase in it. It's not the triumph, but the struggle. And I did not understand that at all. It's not the triumph. What are you kidding? We had this mental image of us on the podium. That's what we were doing this for. And over time you realize, no, it's the whole lead up that taught you all the lessons, that you met all your most wonderful friends and family, that taught you so much about yourself and human nature and all these things. And I think that's what it means. It's the triumph. It's not the triumph. That is the icing on the cake. It's the rest of it that impacts your whole life. So I finally got it maybe a few years after that.
Wow. We have a lot of questions from a lot of people. And maybe it's time to go to the questions, because then we keep going, because I can stay here 2 days in a row without stopping listening you. So let's go to the questions. The senior team, current senior team, has prepared some questions first, 5 questions, and then we are going to open the questions for the rest of the audience. And we are starting with Anita. Yeah.
Hello, am I unmuted? Yeah. Okay, so my questions and my backup questions have already been talked about and answered, but I think anyone who would like to take this, go ahead, but just kind of explain a little bit. You did a little already, but the feeling of competing in front of a home crowd, and maybe for the ones who competed at the same, at another Olympics or a high international competition outside of the US, and just comparing kind of the different feelings and sensations.
Yeah, I can say something about that. The crowd, like Tammy alluded to, just knowing not only that they were all cheering for us since we were the United States, but I had asked my family to get there early, so I knew where they would be sitting. And so when we came out for the parade, I knew in the stands where to look, so I knew where they were sitting. And there's footage of them panning our faces as we go, and you can see me mouthing the words, "Look, there's my brother's bald head." And so that idea that, we're here at the culmination of the biggest event we've ever been to, and yet I have that personal connection, a crowd of 16,000, and know my family is there to support me. That was really grounding. But it didn't really hit home what an incredible experience that was, to have the United States cheering for you to win, until we were in Sydney. And it just wasn't to walk in Atlanta, Georgia, and feel the noise of the crowd, the energy, was very different than the feeling we had in Sydney. And it really wasn't until that point that I felt so blessed and lucky to have had that experience and opportunity.
Yeah. But leading up to that Olympics, the US, we were the favorite. So a lot of competitions we went to, even if they weren't on home turf, people were watching us. They were, coming out from the pool deck to watch us swim. So I think what makes it different in your own country is the pressure of doing your country justice. All the people that supported you along the way. They always say you get the most nervous in front of your friends and family, and now you have 16,000 friends and family. So while it was a lot of pressure, like Heather said, compared to Sydney, where synchro isn't a big sport there, and there weren't a lot of people there cheering for Americans, it really makes you value a home Olympics. There's nothing like it.
I can say you were the favorites of our country for sure. From 12,000 miles, we were our favorites anyways, yeah. We have next.
Some wanted to see the medal.
Woo! Yeah, let's show it again. Wow.
Mine's starting to tarnish a little. I'm kind of bummed.
Yeah, I have never polished mine because I wanted the fingerprints of every single person who's ever touched it to still be on there.
Wow.
It's heavy too.
Yeah.
Remember they put it around our necks? I was like, whoa. Isn't that beautiful?
Yes. Thank you. The next question is from Danny. Danny, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Tell me if you can't hear this, but I wanted to ask, what was like the hardest moment you had to go through as a team, and like what happened afterwards that you guys could like overcome it or fix what was wrong, like within your team or outside stuff that affected you? Like what was the hardest moment?
I have an answer, and everyone chime in. But I don't remember exactly when this was. This could have been a different year, but things had not been going well. And at one point, the coaches walked down on us. They left our practice and they said, "You're on your own." And we had to, like we did in Alabama, get together and throw all of the other garbage that wasn't necessary out, sit, talk, communicate, decide, and figure out our stuff before they would come back. That was a really, like, we were all lost and shocked, and it was the right thing.
But
because
Susanna,
yeah,
I don't know if you remember, we had many smaller moments like that throughout the years.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like just small things that would cause us to have that come back together. And I don't know, did I freeze?
No, you're good.
No, you're good.
My principal loves when we're on Zoom meetings to have whole conversations when we can't hear him. So I thought I might be doing that, but yeah, I mean, when you say one moment, there were just so many. I mean, it truly was a roller coaster of ups and downs and ups and further downs and further ups, and just this constant ebb and flow of, we're on the right track, we're not on the right track. And we just had to come together all the time. And all of us played such an important role in that. I mean, every person had their little piece that would add to it for sure. Go ahead, Natalie.
Yeah, so here's the thing is, when you spend that much time with other people, I think it's like a real family relationship, whether, it's a marriage or, brother, sister, or sister, sister. Poor Becky and Susanna. Where, sometimes you don't always get along, or always, like, we were thrown together because we all had individual talents. But in real life, we might never have been friends or really interacted very much with another person on the team, just because we were so different. So we had to figure out not only how to be a team, but part of that is actually trusting and having a common ground and some kind of like and admiration for each other. So there were times when we get kind of annoyed with each other, but that happens when you're around each other a lot. And so you just have to learn not to make it, blow it out of proportion. And then if there are personality things that are affecting the team, then you have to talk about it. But the coaches really let us be grown-ups about a lot of things. Like it was up to us to figure it out, because those things could make or break a team. And I'll tell you something about Jill Smith that I just remember. Jill, like, we were doing a pattern. We were at Santa Clara International, and we're our patterns, right? Like, you really be in line, and you just, like, you were to me, you're like motioning, and Chris was talking, and then just go, did a little, and I was like, okay. And then it was that day that I realized, this girl, I like her. She just wants it to be exactly right.
Yes.
And there's part of me that loves that. And we were very different, but I think from that moment, like, I just opened my heart to you, and I was like, okay, I'm just kind of like this butterfly, and she's just trying to help me get in line.
And that's such a perfect way to describe us, because I'm always like, oh, no, it's not right. And you're just so like, okay, I'm just gonna go do what she says. And then I can remember Jill Savory just constantly going, no, you're not on the count. You're not, and she would do this. And I'd be like,
a lot of video freezing.
Yes. Slow-mo videos.
Slow-mo video, and stopping the video and saying, who is that? Who's doing that wrong? When are you going to fix it?
At some point, we just said, it's me. I'll just take it right now. I messed it up.
This was awesome. One more question from Abby. Abby.
Hello, I'm right here. So I feel like every single team has a rock bottom, or they hit like some sort of rock bottom in the point of the season. Do you guys remember when that was, or how you guys came to that and how you improved from there, like hit the trampoline and kind of, you know, helped, or how did it help you and like how did you improve from it?
Do you guys remember Night of Champions? I think that's
Yes. Oh my gosh, that was for sure rock bottom.
Yeah.
About that swim.
But rock bottom, and it was like 6 weeks before the Olympics.
Yeah.
And we couldn't swim through our entire routine.
It was so hard that our faces, you could see on the video, our faces were petrified.
Yeah, because we didn't start from the deck work. We started in the pool, and remember the event went so long, it was dark, and we were petrified to swim this routine. Petrified. Yeah.
Yeah. Not sure you should be 6 weeks out and petrified, but we were. we kept making it better, right? Not changing it. We kept making it better.
Well, after that, we simplified some things. And it made it cleaner and clearer. And then we we saw what we could do to refine.
Good
and
point.
that was a big help, because we were like, oh, okay, now it's really, really, really hard, but we think we can do it.
But Abby, to answer your question, I think in all these situations that we've mentioned, the way we picked it up was, it wasn't always the same person picking up the ball. You know, if your number one girl goes down, the other 9 need to pick up the slack. And I think probably that was something we were really good at. You know, recognizing the 8 that had the job of swimming whatever programs, but also just on the day-to-day stuff, you know, people who need, I remember we used to call it special ed if you got sent to the side with Heather Carrasco, because she just had a gift for teaching. And it was like, yeah, okay, she's one of the best people on the team, but if somebody was going to have to take me aside, I guess I want it to be her, you know. But so I think, as people mentioned, everybody had a role, and everybody can't be on fire every single day. So what matters is when people are down, or when they're having a rough time, or it's your day to get all the attention from the coaches. Everybody's got their day. That's when the other people step up to the plate, and that's when you really become a team. Not on the days where it's good. It's on the days where it's bad. It's actually, I think the struggle is where you're going to improve. So if you're hitting rock bottom, you're probably on the edge of, well, in the words of Lady Gaga, you're probably on the edge of glory.
I want to make a shout out to Emily and Marga, who aren't on the call. Because they are part of this wonderful family. And they too, there's so many stories we have together, and the qualities they brought to the team, and so it all applies to them as well, but they're not here today. Emily is a nurse, and today Arizona went back to doing elective surgery, so she went back to work today.
Okay. I want to pick back on that real quick, that you know, our coaches always were going to put the best people to help us succeed and, you know, win, but they also were able to make it so that every person on the 10-person squad got to swim at least one of the programs. And I think that's really special. I really shout out to them for trusting in each of us to allow us to swim at least one of those programs.
Okay, good point. Hannah has another question. Hannah.
Hello. So my question is just, what were some of the sacrifices that you had to make outside of synchro, like with your career or family and just stuff like that?
How long do you have?
I was gonna say every holiday, every
vacation,
everything. There was no personal time.
Yeah, there were 4 people married, right? Is that right?
I had to cut my honeymoon short.
Yeah.
High school graduation, I went to Romopen instead. Oh my goodness, there's so many.
Kids. I mean, Emily had her son, first one, 9 months to the day after closing ceremonies, and she skipped closing ceremonies. She flew home.
Yeah, she's like, see ya. And Emily was also the one who had to move. The rest of us got to stay in the Bay Area. She left her whole family. There
Her
she
husband,
is.
yeah.
Yeah, she left. She came and moved and lived with us.
Yep.
So we could all be in the same place.
You know, Margot lived with me when she moved. She moved from San Diego to come train with the club in Walnut Creek, and she lived with me for like a year, and we still got along. So you know.
So I just want to say, can I say just one more thing too? We gave up everything because everything was 100% all in Olympic year, but this core of the team had been together as a national team from the time we were like, what, 13? I mean, the core group of us. And so I think the sacrifices weren't just Olympic year when we were training that Olympic year, but all the small and big choices that we had to make through middle school, through high school, through through college, and deciding how we wanted to navigate that. And I think it's really about priorities and where your focus is and what goals are you looking to attain and how much are you willing to give for that goal. So that's another thing, is it was more than just a 1 year training.
Sure.
And you know, our coaches gave up too, their families, and they were right there with
and families. Without their support, we would have never made it.
Never.
Do you remember at San Jose State, it was during a national team year, and I think Gail was missing Scott's, like, it was something, it was a birthday or something, and that was really tough on her because Scott was really young. You know, Chris's kids were a little older, not that it's any better, but you know, when the kids are young, that's a lot to give up. So I mean, we're so indebted to them, and Charlotte and Laura, and you know, that core group of coaches and support staff. So I think that's another thing, to be really aware of the people, you know, your parents, but those coaches, what they give you, they don't get the glory, they don't get the medals, but we owe it to them as much as, you know, are holding our breath and, you know, dying in the pool. It was them too.
And they also, someone mentioned it earlier, I think back, and there is nothing they would not have tried to help us. All the different consultants that were brought in, whether they ended up working or not, it was all in an attempt to make us better. And I think that's something when you have someone who's so skilled and expert in their field, willing to bring in someone else to help, because it's your project, it's your thing, and you're an expert. But they constantly would bring in other coaches. There's a string of coaches that coached all of us.
Yeah.
Karin, Nancy, I mean, so many people they brought in and got just to try and help us. So I think that's very, that says something about them and their character, honestly.
There is another question. It's so interesting. Thank you. We're already in the time of finishing, but I think everybody wants to listen more. So if you're okay, we can keep going with more questions.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. We have now Ruby. Ruby has another question.
Hello. What do you think was your greatest strength as a team and your greatest weakness? And how did you overcome your weaknesses and use your strengths?
I'll go with the strength one. I mean, we all had a drive for whatever, we all had the same focus, goal, drive, which is unique for a team. And I think it's required for a successful team.
Yeah.
You know, I think one thing, I don't know if I think it was a strength as well, but it was intense sometimes. You know, the team, although Emily came from Arizona, we were half and half Walnut Creek, half Santa Clara. And so we were like fierce competitors through part of the year. And then we had to come together as this amazing team for the other part of the year. It's kind of like ebb and flow. And then ultimately we came together and, you know, united as one. But I think that posed some challenges sometimes, but I think it also made us stronger because we knew, I think when we went back to our own clubs, we knew who our competitors were, and and I think that we just kind of building up, and then we end up the whole team ended up being stronger because of it.
We also accepted each other for who we were, and we had Nat, who was our cheerleader, and we had Jill, who was our organizer, and we had Jill Smith, who was our perfectionist, and like all of our different aspects of strengths allowed us to be our full selves and also contribute to the team. It's really important to be true to what you know you have to give to the team.
I think there was also a lot of humor. I think we knew how to have fun wherever. I mean, I remember doing a camp in Seattle and going to Top Foods and just, you know, all the bins where you can sample. We did like a taste testing night. Do you remember that, Jill?
Oh my
God. I mean, it seemed like even in Alabama, I have pictures like with face masks on and bows on our heads. And, but I think our coaches also had very good humor. It was very sarcastic at times, but I think there was a lot of laughter, you know, even when we were in the pool for 8-9 hours or doing something really hard, there was always something funny going on or something to laugh at. And I think that kind of saves you. I think
I never really thought of that, Tammy, but you know, later now in life, I think that was so important, especially for me. Like, and I told you the story of like, literally when I was laughing, I could do anything. And so the fact that they could bring in, I mean, for sure, there were so many times that it was crazy serious, but in a second, we could be cracking up.
Yeah.
I think the biggest weakness was most of us never really understood what the heck Chris wanted us to do. She would get so frustrated and we all would just turn to Jetta Smith and go, and she would turn so the coaches couldn't see her and she'd go, just do this. And so that's probably a big weakness that we probably should have, I don't know, learned her language a little bit faster, but that's what you get with creative mind.
Well, and also none of us had been to the Olympics before. So that, I mean, that's just a fact, but it does put you at a little bit of a disadvantage.
Yeah. I think it's also important for like the younger people to understand that we grew up in a community where there was no team in the Olympics.
Right.
That happened in 1992, and most of us were on the national team, and we thought we were just going to Pan Ams or going to the World Championships. And it's only until recently it's become all about the Olympics. We had no 13-15 national team at that time. You know, the first time you made the national team was the junior world team. So, you know, I think a lot of kids think it's the end of their career if they don't make the 13-15 team, or, you know, it's all about the Olympics. But, you know, we were driven by other things like Pan Ams or the World Championships. It wasn't all about that one thing, you know, it was about all the things that were part of it.
Okay. Emma has another question. Now it's from the list of all the audience that we are explaining, and Emma is the first one explaining the question.
Hello. So I'm going to ask Abby Schroeder's question. What are some training methods that you used in practice to improve?
Repeat. Watch each other, repeat
Long
again.
hours. Yep. Not good enough, do it again.
I mean, there's so many. I mean, every day you're trying something new and they're asking something new.
I'll tell you what worked for me. I remember random things that we would do and try, and then, okay, that didn't work. And so we would move on to something else. You know, but like, there was always, of course, the repeat, do it over again, try not to do it wrong again. But there was always random stuff that, I mean, do you guys remember, this just all of a sudden popped into my mind when we would have to bring milk jugs to the pool. Totally random. And then I feel like there were times we had to put weight belts on and practically drown ourselves.
Yeah. Like
Yeah, the 6 laps of ballet legs with the weights.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah. I remember having to land drill by myself in front of the whole team. And that was probably the hardest thing I ever had to do. Because, you know, having your team as your critique you is really scary. We did a lot of like, whenever we would work on a section, it would be in 2s and then in 4s and then 6 and then 8. And the people in this diagonal and the people in this box, it was like every possibility you could think of, we matched it and fixed it, and hours of technical training, hours. Like every morning.
Oh, go ahead. I just want to say something about, don't be afraid of competition. And what I mean by that is that we were very competitive with each other, but we were very supportive of each other. But man, like I was going to get higher in my verticals than Tammy, you know, or Becky, and like, okay, like dream on lady with the big old chunky legs. But I was going to do it, you know? And so like, I think what Susanna said is that we, each of us had those strengths. And so we pulled out of each other that thing that maybe we weren't so good at. So that, I mean, I know you were asking about the different training things, you know, like plyometrics, which some people liked and some people hated. You know, we're always stretching all the time. But really, I think the biggest thing is being competitive with each other and not just going, okay, so Olympic trials. I remember it was like one of the last swims where we kind of like have to do a swim off, and then so you dwindle down to be in a group. And I remember who was it? Tammy, were you in the group with me? I think we said something like, okay, let's not like bomb down the pool on the first lap. And Margot's like, I'm not gonna.
Oh, Margot's competitive.
Remember that? I was like, oh wait, that's right. This is competition. So you can't forget it's competition. Don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid to push yourself, because that's what makes everybody better.
Yeah.
That's probably one of our strengths, is that we were competing against each other too. We wanted to be better. Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like we wanted attention.
But I think we showed great respect for each other as well. So there wasn't this inward, like, I don't remember a whole lot of like behind the scenes, like mean girl stuff happening on this team. I mean, other teams maybe, but our Olympic team, our Olympic year, I feel like we were highly competitive, but we were respectful towards each other, which I think is a really important thing, especially in an all-female, you know, female sport. I mean, right now it's not all female, but at the time, our team was all female, and it can sometimes people can get emotional and whatever. So anyhow, I think we did show respect to each other. Sorry.
Okay. Nice. And Paige, you have the next one?
Yeah. Hi. Question is from Gabby Pilot. She asked, what was life like after the Olympics?
It was weird.
It was really tough, really tough. I mean, at least for me, the first 6 months, I really struggled. I won't lie. I had such a hard time with my entire life. I felt like someone had told me what to do, when to do it, how to do it. I didn't know what to do. I was really lost. Thank goodness, you know, I kind of figured my way out, figured it all out, but it was tough. I don't know about the rest of you, but like, I mean, I wasn't married. I had, you know, I was engaged, so I did have that going on. I was in college, kind of, you know, like, so it was like, what do I do now? I really, truly did not know what to do. And so it took me a good solid 6 months of thinking, figuring that out. And then, you know, mapping out a path, because I started swimming when I was very young. And I was lucky enough, you know, that Chris was my coach from the time I was really young. In fact, I was at the Aquamaze before Chris was there.
Ooh.
I know. I don't know if you guys know that, but I was there.
Ooh. Me too.
And oh yeah, and Heather was there too. But you know, we had that just a lot of structure in our life, which I'm grateful for. But when it all just ended, it's kind of shocking.
Yeah, there was actually one thing I remember to speak to that was, okay, so we were not, you know, young high schoolers. We were in our 20s, I think, pretty much, except for I'm not sure how Tammy and Heather, maybe you weren't 20 yet, I don't know, but
they were 20.
20.
Okay, so, but I was 25. And so we were, you know, and 4 of us were married and a lot of us were engaged. And so we were full grown women. And I remember it kind of hit me when I think Gail said, I think we were in Alabama, and Gail said, okay, if you have to go to the bathroom, go to the bathroom now before we do the whatever she said. And I remember thinking, wow, we're 25 and I'm being told when to go to the bathroom. And that, it's like that kind of stuff that just was throughout our entire career. We'd be told what to do, where to, you know, go, and then suddenly just be launched off into our own new lives. I mean, some of us, we all took different paths, but it did feel like we had the identity of Olympian and swimmer, but we went back to our own hometowns, and it did feel surreal for a while.
But also exciting that nobody in college cared that I did my spin on my right.
Yeah.
I found that to be very liberating.
One thing I think they've improved a lot at the U.S. Olympic Committee is providing resources for athletes to plan post. They have a lot of resources now when you're thinking about retiring and post-retirement.
Yeah.
And they didn't really have that when we were there. Not very much of it anyway. So I absolutely felt like I fell off a cliff. I had no idea.
Oh my God, I felt like that too.
All of a sudden, no one was telling you what to wear. Like you have to be told what to wear. You have a team uniform every single day. What time to eat, what time to go to the bathroom, everything. And all of a sudden, nothing. It was very weird.
It's a great deal of personal responsibility that you don't have when you're in a team environment. You don't have to wonder a lot of things, basic habits, like Jill was just saying, and to take a personal responsibility for that and design like, oh, what do I want to do today?
That's a hard question to ask yourself. It doesn't seem that big of a deal, but
not to mention, right. And also not to mention like the detraining effect. We're used to training, you know, we're busy with synchro 8-10 hours a day, whether it's commuting or working or, and then all of a sudden you're not. Some people I know who didn't get in, somebody didn't get in the pool. I think it was Emily. She didn't get in the pool for like 6 months or something.
Oh yeah, I didn't want anything to do with water.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, I loved it.
Remember, we went to the pool, we sat on the edge and we had our cap and goggles on. We were going to do a master's swim workout. And then we're just sitting there, you know, procrastinating. Yeah. And then we go, I don't want to get in. And you said, I don't want to get in either. I'm like, okay. So we took off our cap and goggles, our hair was dry and we just left.
Okay. So awesome. who still has issues with cold water? Me.
Any water. I don't even like the hot tub.
and being hungry. There is a lot of being hungry.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'm the opposite. I can't wait to get back in the water right now.
Oh,
I feel like a dried fish. I want the water so badly.
You're a dried mermaid.
I think we have the same feeling now. We have another question from Lindy. Lindy, go ahead.
Hi. A few people in the chat box were wondering about any advice or tips you have for young swimmers.
Around the subject.
Get your flexibility now. Everyone can be flexible. Everyone.
And extension.
Those things, and they're not things your coach is responsible for. Those are your responsibilities, and you can do them at home. If you sit on a cell phone, if you watch a device, a TV, then you sit in your middle splits or in your right or left splits. Like it's not your coach's responsibility to get you flexible. It's yours.
I think
you
I
also have to. Oh, sorry, Heather.
That's okay. I think I would say when from a young age, learn how to make your goals fun. You know, I think what kept me going for so many years after we all retired in '96, I swam collegiately, and then Tammy and I decided to swim again and do Sydney. And I think what kept me going all those years was having fun, attaining and striving toward a goal, even if it's a small goal, you know. So you can have fun with your teammates and laugh, but also find a way to make it fun, you know, games. Even, I'm the kind of person where if I'm driving and I know, it's an hour from point A to point B, I'm going to get to this point in 5 minutes and this point in 10 minutes. Set those smaller goals along the way if you have a big dream. And it's amazing how the steps will get you there.
Very interesting. We have another question from Maya.
Hello. Maria Karaliova was asking, how has the sport changed since 1996 in your eyes?
Patterns are smaller.
And
routines are way shorter, and there's I think the level of perfection has really gone away. You can't even coach the perfection part unless you use video. So I think that's really, really different.
To me, they're faster and the lifts are incredible.
Yep.
I dream of synchro evolving to the next level, which is keeping a lot of the fastness and the speed and the high lifts and the dynamic things, but with getting that perfection element back. And unfortunately, that takes a lot of time and technique work. And it's hard because like, how much can you train? Because it's widened a little bit on what you have to train. But that would be my dream, to see synchro move in that direction.
I think another really interesting thing is we would never have done the same routine 2 years in a row. That is such a new trend. I mean, we wrote new routines every year, every World Championships, every Pan Ams. It was, I don't know how we did it, how we pumped out all those routines, but it's much different than now.
Well, and we still had figures. Even in 95, the year before the games, we competed in tech, free, and 6 figures, not just 4.
Yes.
They had to learn 36 figures. They have to learn 8.
And so that level of perfection, I mean, we would spend a couple hours out of our 8-hour day on crane joints.
Didn't we have 36 figures and they picked 6 for the competition? Yeah. So
Yes, we had to train 36 figures.
Yeah.
All the time.
And now girls train 8 figures.
And at the international senior level, no figures, and so that was
and junior
time.
Yeah, and they took them out of junior also now. Yeah, wow.
I have one other thing that I learned that would be good advice to my previous self. Anything worth doing is hard for the most part. So if you're going through a struggle trying to achieve something, you're on the right path and it will be worth it on the other end, no matter how hard it is. That makes it valuable. If it were easy, it wouldn't be that valuable.
Yeah.
I think we all had a positive mental attitude, a positive outlook. And like Susanna said, we all had something to contribute and had a desire to contribute that. It wasn't that training was being done to us. It was, what can I do to help make the team better today? What is it I can give? And I refer a lot to the time we spent in Coronado on the Navy SEAL base, days that we thought, wow, how could training get any tougher? And you'd start to feel a little bit bad about how hard things were. And we'd walk into the tank in Coronado and the Navy SEALs would be doing their drown proofing. And you think, well, actually what we're doing is not that bad. And, spending a week on 4 counts of 8 to write and perfect the circle in the tech program, is pretty good compared to swimming 3 miles in from the ocean. So it kind of put everything in perspective. And, that was one thing I took away from the SEAL base, was the number one thing that they pack on their packing list for the Navy SEALs is a positive attitude. And I feel like we all did that very well.
You remember no stinking thinking?
Oh, right.
That's actually one of my rules in my classroom. I have it on my chalk on my board. No stinking thinking. Rule number 1.
Awesome.
Emma, you have the next question?
Sure. Let's do, why do you think the US is not on the top of the world anymore? Big question. But
It's a loaded question.
Big.
I'd like to, I mean, it's multifaceted over many, many years of different decisions that were made. But I think I have sons and who are one's an adult. Anyhow, they're older now, but what I see is that in the US, it seems like the idea of being well-rounded and good at all the different things has really taken priority. And I think sometimes well-rounded is not, it might get you into a university and look good on your transcript, but it's not necessarily gonna get you to be a world champion necessarily. I know for all of us, we put all the eggs in one basket. And luckily, we were fortunate that it worked out for us. But I think a lot of people are having to a lot of kids nowadays have to divide their time in so many different ways. And that's not, I'm not saying just do synchro and don't be successful in anything else. But I think it's just more the focus. What's your focus? And you can be good in school and good at other things. But I think it's just a matter of focus and priority. It's kids are pulled in lots of different directions nowadays. So
I'm not a coach and I don't, coach the current teams like some of you have here, but and seeing synchro come through, and I've gone to competitions, and I've had my daughter did synchro for a while and some stuff like that. I've just seen the technical aspect and the emphasis of perfection in the technical aspect, whether it's base skills like support skull or having a good vertical. That level of perfection has dropped. Those are some of the base skills that they aren't spent as much time, because we get more to the wow skills, and then the base ones get looked over, and then it's in the elite levels where they start to show more that the base isn't as strong as it could be. So do your support skull drills and your ballet leg laps. We used to do tons of ballet leg laps compared to the
oh my God, I know.
Tons.
6 and 4. Remember that? 6 ballet leg laps, 4 double laps every practice.
Okay. So yeah, there's a base of strength that could be accelerated.
Okay, yeah. Actually, it's what all the judges are telling us, that we need to improve execution. So yes, it makes sense completely. We'll need to work more hours on technique, team.
I do have one little thing about that, and maybe it's I'll be careful how I say this, but we have to remember to be the United States, because the two things that I think have probably contributed to unraveling us has, if you're any jealousy and resentment, kind of have to check that.
Yes.
That's all.
Nice. We have time for one last question, Adam, or not? I think let's do it. I want one more. Paige, you have one more?
Yes. Kiana Hunter asked, when did you realize that synchro was something worth dedicating your life to?
When did we realize we wanted to dedicate our life to synchro? Is that the question?
Yeah. I don't think that I don't know. I don't think I did. It just naturally was organic. Honestly, it was an organic process that I enjoyed. There were a few times that I considered, like, I don't think that I ever truly considered quitting, but until I had reached, and the goals were tiny. It was like tiny little goals as you're going, and eventually the goal was the Olympic Games, but it wasn't a conscious decision. It was just something that I loved to do. I loved being a part of the team, and so that's how it was for me.
I remember my sister, I was on the Walnut Creek Aquanuts, and my sister, 4 years older, was on the team ahead of me. Swam with
her. I know.
With Natalie.
Went with her.
Yeah.
Laura.
So crazy. But I thought it was magic, and I wanted to learn how to do it. So when I was 10, I finally decided to do it, and so that was it. You know.
I did both until 7th grade. And then at some point we had to make a choice because the hours were getting so long, and, synchro starts to get much more serious. So I chose synchro because, well, it was more fun. It was more creative than swimming laps. But, I don't think my swim coach forgave me until we came back from Atlanta. And then, and then he was like, I think you made the right choice. Because when you grow up in Florida, everybody does competitive swimming also. It's huge. So, giving that up was hard. But I think the team camaraderie in synchro is so much more endearing and meaningful.
And fun.
And fun.
Music.
Creative. It's such a creative environment.
Exactly. Can I have the last intervention? And can we have one advice from each one of you to the current national team? One advice that you would like to receive when you were there in this important moment of their lives? Like one thing that you would like to tell them that when you were young, you would like to know.
Oh, gosh.
Sorry, a bird just hit my window. I think I'll just start. I think I said a lot of them. The one that helped me the most, I don't know, there's all different kinds of advice, but the one that helped me the most was practice like you're in competition, because then the competition will be just like practice, and that just calms the nerves down. It helped your practice be elevated to a higher level, which made you better. That was really, when I learned that, I remember learning that, and it actually really worked. That was, just a swimming type of advice, I guess.
I'll say something. I think it's really important as an athlete to remain coachable, whether you're having a good day, a bad day, as you grow and get different ideas and become adults, remain coachable. The coaches have your best interest, and sometimes I've seen, I coached for a long time, a few years ago. I see such talent decide to not give it 100%, not allow themselves to be coachable. So it's okay to do it one more time. That one more time, if your coach thinks it needs to happen, just say, okay, keep your opinions to yourself, because you can have your ideas and your thoughts, but if you've just chosen to have your coach you, then accept what they have to say and be coachable.
It's kind of amazing that you're saying that, Becky, because that's something that you were always amazing at.
Yeah.
You would get beat down and beat down. I mean, when I say beat down, I don't mean beat down, but
safe sport.
But I mean, and I remember even back then thinking, how does she do that? But
remember that one day at Santa Clara? No, it was San Jose State. We were walking off the deck, and we had the longest day, and then Becky had to stay in for her solo. And we're like, bye, Becky. And she's like in the water by herself.
I think that Becky, that was awesome advice, and I agree with Jill that you epitomized that. Totally.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, when we were training before Olympics, because we were together for so long, Becky was the soloist and Becky and Jill Smith were the duet. And they were like, the team had our time, but they were in before and after.
Yeah.
So we trained 8 hours, they trained 10 or more. Yeah. So it was like, that's a whole different aspect. That's not just the team, it's a personal passion and responsibility.
Yeah, I think mine would be time. Anything that's going to be leading to greatness takes time. You have to be patient. You cannot expect to, get a skill in 6 months. You cannot expect a team to come together in 1 or 2 years. I mean, we were a team for 5 years, and a core of them were together as juniors. But our coaches used to say you can't build Rome in a day. So at some level, if you're going after this, you have to accept that this takes time. You know, it took Dan Jansen 5 Olympics to win 1 gold medal. He didn't get it the first time he tried, which leads me to the second thing. And I read it in a book, and the quote is, you have to go to practice every day and love to fail, because failure is when you're improving. And that always, whenever I'm having a bad day, obviously as a coach now, and I think, oh, this is nothing here is going right. And I think, but today we're getting better, because everybody is challenged. And like Jill has a phrase, I think the phrase that impacted me the most was, when you're in the competition, you remind yourself it's just like practice. It's water, the routine is the same, the music is the same. You know, the music's gonna play at the same speed no matter what. It doesn't get nervous. So you stick with that.
Unless they turn it up.
Yeah, I really remember at the Olympics, because I remember saying, oh, this isn't that bad. It's easier than doing the Olympics. Do you remember that, Jill? 5 minutes till forever. And then we got to the Olympics, and it was like, oh, now we can't say that anymore. But I think always saying it's just like practice, because it is. It's the same routine. It's the same teammates. It's the same music. The only thing making it different is what's between your ears. That's what's controlling the situation. So
Becky would say time passes. Didn't Becky say that?
Whether you're having fun or you're struggling, time passes at the same speed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And I would say, trust the process.
Oh my God, Heather, I was going to say that too.
You have to trust the process. Good, bad, or indifferent, it's going to be, you know, you're going to have your good days, you're going to have your bad days. You got to trust the process. And on those bad days where you think you're giving it your all, try to make a little change. Okay, what can I do to make this better? What can I do? What kind of passion can I give to this? Mine, a big thing is passion and heart and soul.
Well,
so if you give that every single time, every single practice, then you will achieve something.
It's a daily wake up. For me, if I would tell my younger self, is just, it's every single day. You remember, it doesn't have to be like, I'm going out here to achieve the Olympic goal. It's, I'm going out here to make a good practice today. And the standard of excellence too, that you personally hold yourself to. There's a personal aspect to this, whereas I'm going to give everything I can today because this is what my team needs. And sometimes it's this much and sometimes it's this much, and you balance each other by giving it everything you can for that day.
Susanna, I want to say that, so along with Heather's trust, I would say that even today I struggle with insecurity, just because of, you know, having a single mom, and I don't know, just a thing in me. And so something that really helped was trust my team, that they love me, trust that I belong, trust that they need me to step up, and trust that my coaches, you know, care about me. And that really helped a lot. Help me be
We
present.
had each other's backs.
Yeah.
We had each other's backs.
Trust that there was love too there, you know.
I think for me, if I was going to talk to my younger self and give any advice, it would be to be flexible and to approach everything with a positive attitude. You know, there was one time that I came home from a practice and I was complaining to my boyfriend at the time, and he's my husband now. And I really, you know, and I was whining, you know, about how hard things were. And I was kind of expecting him to embrace me and tell me, you know, it was okay. Oh, it is really hard. And instead he looked at me and said, you got to decide, are you the rescuer or are you the victim? And that really hit home for me. And, you know, what is it that I'm doing to contribute? What is it that I'm doing to rescue someone else on my team who's having a bad day? To come into the pool, be flexible, and be ready to rescue whoever is there. right? And some days it's yourself, like you're just doing everything that you can to just give 100% every day. But with flexibility, that to me, that's adaptable. You know, you're an adaptable athlete that can perform no matter what the circumstances are.
Super awesome for Eric saying that, Heather. I never knew that. That's pretty amazing.
I thought that I was going to get all this sympathy, and instead I got a kick in the bum, and it was just what I needed.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, I feel like I come at this question from maybe a little different perspective, but I think if I were giving myself advice, then I would say just really savor every moment, like value everything, because it's truly life-changing wherever you end up in this. If you put your heart in it, these are memories and life lessons that you will take with you for the rest of your life. And so for me, there are so many memories I have of, I mean, you know, I think a lot of the Aquamade memories with Chris just kind of talking to us on the side of the pool and it feeling really heavy, but so important at the same time and so kind of life-changing that I find myself, I try really hard not to, but some days I'm a teacher now. And so some days I find myself like, I can't teach these kids any math, but maybe I can teach them something, like some life lesson. And so I feel like valuing all of that is just, it's precious and it's priceless, really.
You will wake up someday and miss that everyday grind. You know, you will miss all those little idiosyncrasies that everybody has, or borrowing shampoo, or stealing your lunch, or whatever. You'll wake up someday and you'll do whatever you could to get it back. So you might as well just enjoy it.
Can I say something as a grandma, mother of Dana Rosenfeld Bradley? Where'd she go? She probably is hiding out of shame. But I want you girls, all of you, because you're all inspiring some young girl somewhere. And it makes me want to cry that my daughter chose your sport. We took her to the Olympics and we met Tammy and we met Heather and Jill and it made the biggest difference in her life. And I just want you to know that you gave her that, and how amazing to give a 12 to 14-year-old girl who's it's junior high, you guys, it's the worst time. You gave her like a purpose, and she's still doing it. She's still coaching and she's still swimming and she's good. So I just love you all, and I always will. You'll always be like something very special to me. And I just had to put that out to you because you are the ones who need the acknowledgement from everyone. So let's give them a big round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Very much.
Sweet.
Okay, thank you so much. I think we didn't miss any advice. I noted everything.
We could do a separate call for you, Andrea. Maybe for your birthday, we can do a Zoom call together.
Great. I have 1 million times more.
This has been so amazing. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. Like, I just think everybody in this sport is so amazing.
Oh, that's Emily and Margot.
Oh.
We're all still so connected. That's so cool.
It's true. Like, we have not seen each other. By the way, we now need to do a Zoom.
I know, I was gonna say.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
I'll organize it.
I'll organize it.
Thank you for bringing us together. I forgot. These memories are burned in my mind in a positive way, and I hadn't thought about some of them in a really long time, and it's been so fun. And I had no idea that we motivated anyone. Like Jill was saying, this has been so amazing just to think, because I know exactly who motivated me. I mean, Tracy Reeves was there, Mary Lou Retton. I mean, all these people ahead of me who totally motivated me. And I never knew I really did that. So thank you for putting this together. It was really fun. So rewarding.
I appreciate you, Andrea, for doing what you're doing, and everyone for being here and listening. It's
It's rewarding for us and it's rewarding for you. So a deep appreciation to you all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And we hope we will make you proud as a team also one day, sooner than.
You already have.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You're here. Thank you. I'm going to
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Adam.
Adam.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Adam.
ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Go Team USA.
I have one last question. Can I ask?
there is now is the express. Somebody wanted to ask something. Who was it?
Oh, yeah. Hi.
Hi. Yeah.
We can not the ones we can say. Why not? No. Okay. Hello.
Hi. So I wanted to ask how you guys got over your fears, like especially at like meets and stuff. When you got like really scared, how did you work over that?
I think a lot of it, we did a lot of mental training. But I think you have to really monitor your inner thoughts, your self-talk. That's a big thing. And you have to work on the self-talk in your trainings, so that when you get to competition, you have control of that inner voice, and make sure that you need to be your biggest supporter. And I know there's a lot of people out there, the reason why that fear dominates them, and they don't necessarily achieve their highest performance, is because their inner voice is saying some really awful things. And whatever the reason is, I think to practice how to control that inner voice and what thoughts you want going through your head at competitions. And there's a lot of wonderful books you can read, but I think it's really mental practice is just as much as important as the physical practice.
For sure.